And initially, your first few deals have to stand on their own feet. We will never bring you a deal that doesn't cash flow. We'll never bring you a deal that doesn't stand on its own 2 feet.
He said he's buying assets, so not the entity of the hospitals themselves, right?
Well, in one case, the hospital is an asset, the building.
But he's
he's got machines. But all your acquisitions, now I refrain, I tell you to, on your first 2 or 3 deals, I refrain from buying property. Why do I don't like you to buy property like a dental office or a doctor's office or a chiropractor's office or, an office? Because let's say that the building is worth $500,000. That building isn't generating into that free cash flow. And to pay for it, you're going to have to pay multiple up. Instead of buying it at 3 times cash flow, because the value of the building is added on top of the purchase price, you're going to have to pay 5 or 6 times cash flow. And most of these hogs won't carry it. And so that's why when we get to structuring the deals, I tell you, you tell the dentist, the doctor, whoever the fuck it is, fine, I'll have an option to buy your building in 3 years from now at some adjusted price. So it makes him feel more comfortable. The next thing is, it's pretty obvious for those of you that have had a seller's note or a seller finance, is if the business doesn't operate as was projected for you, you don't make the payment. It's simple as that. But that has to be written in the covenants. It's not that you lose the asset. And we're not going to talk about it now, but there's asset lending and there's cash flow lending. We're cash flow borrowers. In other words, the assets, underlying assets that he alluded to have to be producing cash flow, otherwise there's no purchase. But we're basically cash flow lenders, or borrowers, excuse me. We're cash flow. Because there's plenty of assets, and you were talking about turnarounds, there's plenty of stuff that, you turn around, got a lot of assets, but they're not producing any fucking cash flow. We pass on those. That's not to say you can't come around later to scoop them up, but initially, your first few deals have to stand on their own feet. We will never bring you a deal that doesn't cash flow. We'll never bring you a deal that doesn't stand on its own 2 feet. You warmed them up. Now you're back with a deal, right? 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, whatever it is later. And he said, well, we'll need your signature. I said, well, how did the deal look yesterday? You looked at the number? Looked fine. So if I died yesterday, the deal still looks fine, right? What does my signature add? Now that's a tough question for them to answer. Other than, if they're really honest with you, they'll say, well, I need some, I got to ask the question. The real deal is, kids, they have to ask the question. They don't have to get the answers they want. And that's what you don't understand. You think because they ask you the question and because they're steering you in a direction for an answer, you think that's the answer. It isn't the answer. Banking regulations, both in America and in Britain, dictate you have to ask the question. Banking regulations don't say, even in Romania or Bulgaria, Estonia, that you have to answer it positively. But they lead you down that path. And they lead you down that path they have scripts just like you have scripts. And once you understand the mechanics, every dollar that's deposited in a bank is lent out between 20 and 50 times, depending on the balance sheet of the bank. If they're in America, whether they're a state bank or a federal bank, it's the same around the world. So they have to get money. And now that it's more or less accepted isn't the right word, but I can't think of the right word, that Corona's going to be around a while. And not that V that everybody talked about that was fucking, ludicrous. The banks, if they don't get money out the door, and I'm not talking about the government money yet. If they don't get money out the door, they're not going to get any Christmas bonuses. Now, why are 75% of all bank loans, commercial bank loans, made the last 120 days of the calendar year? Bonuses. Now, they've got all kinds of bullshit rationale that they try to explain to you that it's not bonuses, but at the end of the fucking day, it's bonuses. It's not a coincidence that all those loans are made at the end of the year. Now, we're coming right up to that end of the year now. So that, on top of Corona, as I sing, I run around the castle saying, do not forsake me, oh Corona! On this, I love my voice. Nobody else loves my voice. But, because of Corona, they're going to be shoving that fucking They can't shove that shit down your throat fast enough. You know how when you feed, I have never fed a baby, but the two claims to fame, I've only changed one diaper in my life. 3 kids, 2 grandkids, 1 diaper. And I've never fed a baby with you know how you put the food in and you spit it out? They tell me this. I don't know this for a fact. I've never done that. But they're going to be hand feeding you to get loans down your throat. Now, some banks that say they're cash flow lenders are really quasi-pretend cash flow lenders, and they want to tie as many assets. Normally, they want 3 sources of repayment for your loan. No matter if you're a cash flow borrower or a asset borrower, they want your signature, they want the business that produces the cash flow, and they want something else. Normally, it's your house, if you have another business, and we're not giving them any of those. But that's why it's even easier for you. There used to be a place in Manhattan called the Library. It was the meat market of the 70s. If you couldn't get laid in there, it's because you didn't have a dick. It was the motherfucking meat market extraordinaire. Meat meaning tail, pussy. They used to have a buffet as long as this room. Drinks, and this was in the 70s, so drinks were a call drink, meaning you name the alcohol in your drink, was $1.25, $1.25, not $125, and a regular bar drink was 75 cents. Beers were 50 cents, wine was 50 cents. The food used to be this thick in the buffet. I wonder, well, it's out of business now, but I can just imagine how they corona that up. But anyway, okay. The bar was equally as long, a long bar on this side of the room. Had maybe 50, 60 seats, and then about 100 people would be there because you'd be squeezed in before. You guys, they still, well, maybe not. People still go to bars before corona, and you squeeze in between the seats, right? So instead of 50, 60 seats, there's 100 people at the bar. It's rumored that me in my youth, first of all, this part isn't rumored. I was flat broke. I used to pay $65 a night for my room there. And it was also a hotel. It was called the bed bug because the cockroaches were that big. And had a sink in your room and 1 toilet on the floor. Do they still have places like that? Maybe hostels or something, right? And the guys who would piss in the sink, they're not going to get up in the middle of the night and go to fucking, you know? You start at one end of the bar, and normally 3/4 of the people at the bar were women. Okay, but I used to load up my pockets with food from the buffet because I had no money. And I wouldn't want to squeeze next to the fat hogs because then they'd squeeze the sandwiches and the fucking mayonnaise would come out of the sandwiches. And you could see stains on my suits. But I started at one end, allegedly, at one end of the bar, and I would ask every single woman at the bar, you want to blow me in the toilet? You want to blow me in the toilet? And I never, may God strike me dead, got to the other end of the bar without getting 2 or 3 yeses. Never. Now, I don't even consider that balls. When I say I got more ass than a toilet seat at a bus station, I ain't lying. I have kids call me, you want me to teach them how to get their willy wet. If I was 25 years old and I didn't look like Cyclops, and I couldn't get my dick wet, I'd kill myself. And in 1986, a man shaking hands had 116 pounds per pressure per square inch. A man. A woman had 96. 86. Fast forward to 2016. A man's got 88 and a woman's got 109. Testosterone levels, I'm an anomaly. I'm like a cyclops or something. Testosterone levels in men have dropped 40% in the last 100 years. Brian Rose calls me a Neanderthal. Well, maybe I am. I have an extra rib. I have the Neanderthal 13th extra rib. My dad had the 13th extra rib. We don't know what his dad had because his dad died before he was born. I should exhume his fucking body just to find out. But more importantly, the Neanderthal had a bigger brain than Homo sapien. It was 20% bigger. So maybe I am, and I have a big head. So maybe I am. See, part of my job is to pull out the caveman in you. Back in the old days, caveman days, a guy is going by with a good-looking woman. You like the woman? Boom! Hit the guy in the head with a fucking club, drag her off, right? Right? What happened? We got refined. And now it's pathetic. Now it's sickening to me. Guys my age don't understand. They don't understand how, and it all started, in my judgment, with a book called I'm Okay, You're Okay, written by a guy named Albert Stein, a psychiatrist, in 1968, was the beginning of the end. And that book says, whatever you do is okay, and whatever I do is okay, cha-cha-cha. Da-na-na-na. On my super success test, on my website, the first or second question is, if somebody came in and spit in your wife's face, what would you do? I thought this question was a slam dunk. I would have bet my testicles, both testicles, that I knew how you kids would answer. And there's three choices, one of which is you pick up a stick and beat the guy to death, which is my answer. And your answer is I try to ascertain what kind of day he was having. If he was having a bad day or not. Now the guy just spit in your wife's face. What the fuck the kind of day he's having has anything to do with anything. But that's why it's even easier for you. Because you don't have to hit anybody. Well, some of the people you should hit, but I'm not promoting that.